Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kaylin and a happy new year to everyone. Just a reminder, because I see in previous videos some people got a little confused, but these are Reddit stories that I am reading and that I try to be respectful to the original writer as much as possible. So if there is swearing in there, I apologize. It's fine. In future I'll probably just bleep them because I'm not up here for these comments anymore. Anyway, I hope this is going to be an amazing year for all of you guys, and thank you to all the new subscribers. I'm so happy that you guys are here. The channel's growing very quickly and it just makes me really excited for the future. But without further ado, here is the video. I've been reading through these stories and some of them stood out. It isn't until all of these years later, I'm 29, that I clicked on what I saw. Backstory: I've had experiences since I was very young, very vivid dreams, immense feelings of what others are going through, psychic abilities, etc. Found out recently I'm an empath after thinking something was wrong with me. I have a twin sister whom isn't an empath, but has seen things as well. And that townhouse was haunted. All those energies are attracted to us. I've heard twins are different than just the surface. We were trying to sleep. We had bunk beds but slept on the bottom because we're inseparable. I lie there in the dark, ready to doze off, when I see a figure peeking into my door, slightly. I stared in fear. I remember the sweating from anxiety till this day. He just stood there, looking in. My sister saw it too. But we said nothing to each other. I blanked out, as I don't remember what happened afterwards. When I've told the story in the past, I reference this figure to Freddy Krueger. He had a brim hat, dressed all in black. I was visiting a family ranch in the countryside of Mexico. I was 12 and it was the first time I was visiting this ranch in a long time. This ranch has been in the family for centuries. There are pictures and paintings of all my ancestors throughout the ranch that always made me want to go home before it was dark. While I was there, at some point I got the urge to go use the bathroom. All my cousins were in a separate room eating and catching up. When I went to the bathroom, I noticed there was a door right next to this bathroom. I assumed it was a bedroom, but I didn't check in respect to my uncle, the owner of the ranch. When I was in the bathroom, I heard what sounded like an old wooden rocking chair rocking in the room next door. I didn't think much of it. I went to wash my hands, and in that moment I heard nails clawing at the door to the bathroom. I didn't freak out. I know how my cousins get, and I was aware that it was most likely a light-hearted prank by someone who needed to use the bathroom. When I opened the door, no one was there. I rushed back to my cousins where I brushed off the situation and didn't mention it. Late in the day, my cousins who lived in the ranch were telling some scary stories about this ranch, where they revealed that it was haunted. They told us about the room attached to the bathroom, and how an old lady who used to live in that room still lives in it, and sometimes when you're in her space, she'll rock her rocking chair. Here's a little background context. So this past Thanksgiving was hard for my family. It was the first Thanksgiving without my biological grandmother. I called her Nana. Her life partner was my other grandmother, who I called Nain. So now that I got that out the way. So, on Thanksgiving night, me and Nain and half my brothers were sitting in the living room, reminiscing on past Thanksgivings we spent with Nana, when we heard something fall in the master bedroom. Nain had closed the door to get the dogs out of there, so no one and nothing was in there. We brushed it off and decided to put on a movie, and were watching it when we heard voices coming from the room. We paused the movie to listen but couldn't quite make out what they were saying. We assumed it was just the neighbors, and were about to continue the movie when we heard a voice call out for Nain, in my Nana's voice, only it wasn't her. We all knew it. Again, she called out this time for me. This time, the tone in her voice was urgent, like she was hurting. "Help me," we heard her cry. My older brother, who's never really encountered nor cared for the supernatural, was shaking. He tried to get up when Nain shouted, something she's never done, "Do not open that door." Again we heard my Nana crying while pounding on the door. When at 11:52 p.m. it was quiet. That was the time when she died. Till this day we haven't spoken of what happened. Nain had me sage the entire house the next day. Here's a story about me questioning my sanity after becoming a mother for the first time. Fall 2020, our first child was born. From the beginning, she was very agile. Could hold her head up only after a few weeks, always moving and determined to learn something new. One of the first times she rolled over by herself on our couch, me sitting in front of her. I applauded and cheered. And right next to me, I heard a man cheer with me. Like he was standing next to us, in the living room. It was a loud, deep voice, no real words, just a joyful gibberish. We were alone. Our little family moved to my hometown, into my grandparents' old home in spring 2021. We had to renovate a few rooms, left our furniture temporarily at the old place, and slept in the huge old bed my grandpa left us in his house, and I decided to go to bed with our daughter. I laid her down, sleeping, in the middle of the huge bed, surrounded her by pillows so she couldn't fall out, and went quick to the bathroom next door. In the middle of brushing my teeth, I heard the deep voice again. This time he sounds angry, very loud, almost intimidating. I dropped everything and rushed to the bedroom. My daughter was awake and somehow rolled herself to the edge of the bed. She never did that before. The situation taught me to expect everything at any time. I was there just in time to prevent her from falling. I called my boyfriend, asking him if he had said anything, or called me, but he denied it. I didn't know how to feel at this point. A few months later, on our daughter's first birthday, we had an accident and needed to go to the hospital. I will not go into detail, but I can say that I thought her head would be injured. But there was almost nothing. It's like someone put their hand over her head in just the perfect moment. I heard him one more time shortly after the accident. In a calm and clear voice, he told me, "I am here." I believe he wants nothing but the best for our daughter. My boyfriend has a very difficult relationship with his father's side of the family. I kind of forced him to at least send a letter to his grandparents that we were expecting a child when I was pregnant. 3 months before our daughter was born, his grandfather died of cancer and no one told us. We found it out 2 days after our child was born. I had the feeling I know who her guardian angel might be. As a kid, I lived with my mom in an old house divided into 4 apartments. We lived on the first floor, and the house was near a mortuary. All the time that we lived there, 20 years, my mom and I had many strange encounters with someone or something. Today I want to start telling my stories, and begin with the one that may not be the scariest but gives me a headache till this day. I had a canopy bed as a child. My grandpa built it when I was very little, 4 or 5. As a teenage girl, I once went to the dollar store and found a unique Dreamcatcher that fit perfectly between the curtains of my canopy bed. The Dreamcatcher had a star macrame in the dark purple, and instead of feathers, some kind of wind chime underneath the macrame part. It was very pretty, and I loved the dingling sound every time I got out or into bed. One day, when I came home and went to my room, I noticed immediately that my Dreamcatcher was gone. Only the ring and a piece of the purple fabric hung between the curtains. The rest of my Dreamcatcher was in pieces everywhere on my bed and in the room. The chime part was ripped apart and the macrame was completely torn. It looked like a cat had a very good time with it, but we didn't own a cat. It felt like a crime scene to me and gave me chills. Later that day, I did some research on the star pattern of the macrame, only to find out that the star symbol is meant to drive out dark spirits. Maybe this Dreamcatcher saved me or someone else in the house in a way I never noticed. I still have no other explanation for this experience. When I was 14 in 1994, my bedroom was in the attic of a 100-year-old house. My 7-year-old sister and my parents had bedrooms on the 2nd floor, and the main floor was mostly open with a cute 40s style kitchen. One day I was in my room when one of the kids visiting the 2nd floor had accidentally made his way up into my room. He was quiet and just looked at me. This happened often, so I directed him back down the stairs to the 2nd floor. An hour or so later, I walked downstairs to talk to my mom and casually asked where the kids went. She seemed confused and said that my sister wasn't home today and no kids were visiting. I walked up and down the stairs a few times, Checked all the closets and figured the kids must have left. Mom assured me she's been sitting between the only 2 doors of the house and no kids visited. I was sure I saw a kid, but it would have been hard to sneak around her twice, especially with the loud screen doors. That night before dinner, I'm skimming through the local paper. Every day they would publish anniversaries of local stories from 5, 10, 20, 50 or 100 years ago. When I got to the story about 50 years ago, it told a story about a kid who died when a bomb got loose from the World War II armory across the street and accidentally detonated in our kitchen. I looked around and noticed our kitchen's from the 40s. Then I remember how I saw a kid earlier in the day, and it freaked me out. Was he a ghost kid? Even without the ghost kid, it's a weird story. But what if he was a ghost kid? We moved away from that house, and I always wondered about the ghost kid. So here's where it gets really weird. When I moved in with my roommate 5 years later, we're telling stories back and forth one night, and eventually get around to ghost stories, and I tell him about the ghost kid. He says, was it at 44 Front Avenue East? Yes. He didn't know me then. This is weird. That's my Uncle Bobby. He hit it with a nice pick. And that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this, please let me know. If you have a particular favorite story, please comment down below which one it was. If there's particular stories of these you'd like to hear more of, please let me know. It always helps me quite a lot to know what you guys prefer to hear. Also in the description is a Patreon link if you would like to support the channel. You don't have to, but it does help. But anyway, thank you again so much to everyone who has subscribed. I hope you guys have an amazing year, and thank you for everything. But until next time, bye bye.